Hey, this is Malaysia's best professional wrestler, Golden Boy Ahmad Osman, and you're watching CCP Podcasting.
What is happening, friends of CCP Podcasting? Welcome to a very special live taping of Beyond the Bell. I am Chris Page. It's a Saturday night here in sunny Florida. Well, I guess it's nighttime Florida. And it is definitely morning hours across the world where our guest is going to be coming to us from today. Before we get there, the rumors are true, guys. CCP Podcasting, November 22nd. Mark your calendars. We are putting our monies where our mouths are. And jumping into the independent wrestling game, we've got our first show, Chapter 1, Genesis, taking place in Orlando, Florida. Again, November 22nd. You definitely need to keep your eyes peeled. Some announcements coming. Today, Beyond the Bell. This one I am really, really excited for. We dove into Australia, and I've made no bones about it. I said that Australia is really the driving force behind our platform and why we are here. And I mean that wholeheartedly. My guest today is somebody that I've had my eye on for probably the last 2 years. And I didn't think that this conversation was ever going to happen, to be perfectly fair. But now we're here, and I was pleasantly surprised when my guest said, "Yeah, man, I'd be happy to." Let's bring him in. This is going to be a fantastic conversation, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Beyond the Bell Live, the one and the only Mr. One Shot, Mitch Ryder. How's it going, man?
Good man, thank you so much for having me. I'm stoked to be able to jump on and have this chat with you.
I'm not as excited as I am. I could not be happier, really and truly, to have this conversation with you today, man. Because you guys have been crushing it for such a long time, and maybe haven't gotten the respect or the flowers that you deserve, not only from what you're doing currently, in pro wrestling, like et cetera, but in the country in general. Like, it is thriving, and I credit Australia 1000% for this platform even being a thing today. So to have this hour or so with you, chef's kiss for me, man. So welcome to the show. It's going to be fantastic. I am truly excited.
100%. No, thank you so much. Like it's yeah, you mentioned Australia kind of being, a really quality pro wrestling hub, and it so is. It's just we're slowly telling the world about it, slowly but surely.
Yeah.
And because we've been quality for a long time. And so now it's nice to really see people and other people, like other actual wrestlers popping up overseas and crushing. I feel like this year we've seen more wrestlers from Australia abroad killing it than ever before. So hopefully it continues to bring those eyes.
I mean, it's the trickle effect is definitely about to happen, man. And there's going to be a lot that we're going to talk about throughout this entire conversation. Before we get too deep into the party, let me welcome everybody to the chat. Glad that you're here. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them. I will get them worked in. Do want to throw a shout out to the Giant. I guess that's Coyote, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, nice.
Says, good morning, legends. Let's go, baby, with some exclamation points. Mr. Ryder, man, this is, I can't wait to dive in. And I know we're going to talk a lot about Australia and the scene. Before I get there, man, I got to know, where does wrestling and professional wrestling specifically, how does that fall in love with you, or where does it intersect with you? At what point in time in your life?
Yeah, it's funny. I think this is the story. This is the story I've been telling for a while now. I'm gonna roll with it. I think this is how it happened, right? So, it's 2005. I'm on a family. When when I was growing up, we had one really big family holiday, pretty much like especially for my formative years. And we actually came to America. We came to the States. My parents pretty much saved my entire life at that point to take this big trip. I was 8 years old. I actually turned 8 on the trip. And yeah, we came to the States. I had some family there, and we visited them in Denver, and then from Denver we went to New York. Went to New York City, and from what I remember going to Times Square. I remember seeing a poster of, like a billboard of the WWE essentially. And what I'd not realized is they were actually performing that night. They were performing that night at MSG. I think it was just a house show. But that's what the billboard was advertising. And I was like, wow, that looks really cool, whatever the hell that is. And then what happened was I sort of took note of that. That was cool. And then it was like a flow-on effect of things, right? So saw the billboard at the time. I don't know if it's still there, but at the time there was a massive. It was the world's largest Toys R Us in the world. Was in Times Square. So we rolled to Toys R Us because I'm 8, and they were like, "Oh, let's go to this. It'll be novelty." Anyway, go in. Next thing you know, there's like a wall of action figures of all the wrestling action figures. And I was kind of popping out. I was like, "Oh, cool. That's a guy I saw on the poster. That's a guy I saw on the billboard. You know, rah, rah, whatever." We ended up getting an action figure. My parents were like, "Oh, look, you can get one." I got Edge, which of course, like 2005, a kid. There's no way a kid who knew anything about wrestling would get an Edge action figure because he was the worst back then. Everyone hated him. And so anyway, I got my first action figure was Edge. We go back to the hotel, and the next thing you know, turn the TV on. Here it is on the TV in the hotel, and I was just like, "Man, this thing's just following me," and it was awesome. And so sort of sat down and watched it. 8 years old. We're talking like middle of Ruthless Aggression era. My parents are kind of like, "What's going on here?" Like we're talking like live sex celebration era. Like what's happening, right? For an 8-year-old with his parents watching, this is kind of weird. And then I watched it. We actually did a tour of MSG the next day, and that's when I found out, oh my god, they were here yesterday. We could have maybe gone. And I kind of went on with the family trip, got home, and then my dad says to me, he's like, that's on the TV here in Australia. We could just, if you really like it, we could watch it. And that was pretty much it. Like came back from this holiday, and I became a fan. I fell in love, and I was 05. I probably grew out of it a little bit around 2010, 2009. And then that's the time you kind of go to high school and you're like, I don't know about this wrestling stuff anymore. Is it cool? That kind of vibe.
No, the girls are. The girls are.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then, I sort of did a couple things, like did some different sports and stuff in high school. And then around maybe like grade 12, like the 12th grade, I jumped back into it because I was like, wow, like these guys are. It was around the time when Daniel Bryan was really, really pumping, like the Yes movement, that whole thing. And I looked at a guy like Daniel Bryan at that point. I'm 17, coming close to 18. Like I'm as big as in terms of stature as I'm probably ever going to be. And a guy like Daniel Bryan is the top guy. I'm like, wow, like not only is he kind of like my size, but also it's just super athletic now and really cool again. And got back into it and graduated high school and started training, and that's when the journey happened.
I mean, I thank God that you had that trip and it steamrolled you into what you're doing now. I always love to find out where things start with people, because obviously where there's a starting point, there is a jumping off point for fandoms and odds and ends. Example for me, like I grew up in the 80s, so I was watching the Dusty get the shit beat out of him by Flair, and had a that was my fandom with my 96-year-old great grandmother who was screaming at the television.
That's awesome.
I don't remember much about my childhood, but I will remember the day that my great grandmother Ruth was cussing out Ric Flair for beating up Dusty Rhodes, and I don't know why, but it's a memory that was just etched in my head.
It was probably so out of character for you at the time. You were like, "Whoa, what's going on here?"
5 years old, 6, I could say that 100%. It's just it was just different. And then with the scene in Australia, like I mean, I've had such an opportunity to sit down and talk to so many of you guys from the scene down there. So I kind of feel like I have a feel for what's been going on over the last 15, 20 years, so to speak, with the growth and et cetera. But again, everybody's journey is different. So when you are looking into training, to figuring out where your next step is going to be, what's that process look like for you?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and I'd probably why. So I graduated high school, and then I didn't really start training for probably 18 months after that. And the reason was I grew up in a town. So I live in Brisbane now, but I grew up in a town about 2 hours from here. So a small regional town. It's Brisbane maybe has 3 million people. This town I grew up in has like 120,000. So vastly different in terms of population size. And there was no wrestling there at all, like nothing. And so boo, exactly. Like there's no shows, there's no training, there's no wrestlers, there's literally nothing. Fans, of course, but nothing for them. So I was there. I discovered Australian pro wrestling probably in that, in that final year of high school as well, just through Instagram and things like that. And that was the first time where I was like, oh wow, like I knew about indie wrestling just because I'd seen enough documentaries that WWE had put out that people obviously had in like wrestling pre WWE, but I didn't know that we had it in Australia. And so I discovered that, and I saw people like Damian Slater and Robbie Eagles and guys like that were sort of crushing it at the time. Jonah Rock, who's now Bronson Reed, people like that. And so I started following them all, on the socials, but none of them were close to me. Like they were all sort of Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, like that kind of vibe. No Queensland at all. And so it took probably a little bit of digging, and I found a school. Actually, found a school in Brisbane that I came down to once with my dad. Ironically, he came down with me, and I bumped around, rolled around. At that very first session was someone who became a bit of a rival of mine, Punch Drunk Istria. He was one taking the session, so he was the guy taking it, which is really cool. And I actually don't know if I've ever told him that because he wouldn't remember, I'm sure. But he gave me a clothesline my very first day. I was like, oh, that's cool. That sucked, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. But at the time, I was trying to start up a career, like more of a career away from wrestling, because I obviously never wrestled. So I sort of focused on that. And then it wasn't until maybe 12 months after that I found a school a little bit closer to me, so about an hour and a half from where I was living, and I would commute to there. That was in Ipswich, and that was where I started. And it was classic grassroots, like it was in a shed in someone's backyard, like it was OG kind of. You gotta do where it happens. And that's where they ran the shows, and that was it was interesting to say the least.
I similar concept. I laced my first pair in 1999 was when I started training, and I different times, 4 months, 5 months, go. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
On a mountain, on the side of a mountain, in a shed above a makeshift ring. Yeah, 100%. And isn't it ironic though, awesome, like how far things have come, and the 15 to 20 years as far as training is concerned, and guys today really having a much better opportunity to learn, and that's something that I see everywhere, on all continents, and it is one of the things that I'm very proud of, because you guys are, I call you guys the future, because the future is professional wrestling. You guys are the ones that are out there crushing it and killing it. And without having that ability to hone in on your craft, versus back in our days, my days was legit. 13 people started, 2 finished. I don't know if that metric even matters now, but that's about what it was at my time.
Yeah. It's what I think that. I feel like it's certainly getting better, or at least from what I can see, it's getting better where we are. But I think so much of it comes down to, and I'd never realized this until recently, but I think so much of it comes down to the group of people you come in with.
Sure.
Because they're the ones that keep you going, and it's that like camaraderie within the boys and girls that, because as you know, like wrestling isn't all sunshine and rainbows. Like it hurts and it's tough, and you pay your dues, and it's a long journey to even get your first match sometimes. And so you got to have something that keeps you coming back, that isn't necessarily just the love of wrestling sometimes. And that's something I've really noticed with the new crop that we've got coming in through the 3 Count Academy, that Bobby is, the main guy that runs it. And they've got such a great new group of people that were probably, I don't know, maybe like 15, 16, 17 deep. And I think out of that 15, 16, 17, they've been there 12, 14 weeks now, and there's still 14, 15 people there. And they keep turning up for each other every week, and it's sick. Whereas back when I started, in my day,
right,
it wasn't, like there's 2 or 3 people that I started with that still wrestle now. And it was not really like that at all.
It's just fantastic to see where things have come from, where we're headed, and especially in Australia. And I will not pretend to be an expert on anything Australian wrestling, but what I will say is that over the last 2 years, I've seen an awful lot, and I've seen a lot of really good stuff. And we talked a little bit before we came on the air. Legitimately, this whole platform started because I threw a dart and it landed in Australia. That's how bad my aim is. Think about that. A whole map on the fucking wall.
Yeah, you got
And
to get down the bottom. You're like,
and
man,
it
you
lands
would
in
have been more
Australia.
likely to hit way more water than that. Yeah.
Well, it just started this trend that the channel has come on, and truly, I give Australia a lot of credit because it was Riot City
Yeah.
that gave me, everything else that's come along with Pro Wrestling League, Renegades, Wide Bay, Pro. Robbie Eagles is their champion, and I forgot the name of it. Is it?
PWA.
PWA, yes, Pro Wrestling Australia,
Yeah.
PWA, like Renegade, like the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
So when you,
Yeah.
you yourself, based off of what I've seen and doing a little bit more research and looking and doing my job, I don't know what to say. You're a top guy within the country for sure, and one of the few that have been able to get out and do some international stuff as well. So, how does international travel come on your radar as you're coming up and getting an opportunity? Because what I look at from that isn't twofold. One is getting the opportunity to get out there and into another country and learn their style and learn from their whoever's there, whoever you're learning from. But you get to bring that back and you get to show that to your country. So how does that look like to you? What's that process?
Yeah, 100%. It's so funny how things can just kind of organically happen, right? And so
Hmm.
the first place that it's not the first place that I went abroad, but the first place that I went and really had a crack abroad was Japan. And the way that even came about starts. So I did that in May of 2023. That was my first tour over there, and the way that even starts happens at like the end of 2020. And so what ended up happening, what brought that on, is I ended up doing an independent show in North Queensland. So Queensland itself is like the state that we're in. So we're down in Brizzy, which is like essentially Miami, let's call it. Let's say Miami. North Queensland would be on a map the equivalent of going to like New York. So it's a long way away, right? But we're still in the same state at that point. So it's a really long way in terms of like US geography and stuff. That's kind of the distance that it takes. It's like a 3 hour flight to get there essentially. Um, I got booked to do this show up in North Queensland, and it wasn't a big promotion. But at the time I wasn't anybody, so I was like, I'm stoked. Let's do it. Like I'm keen to just wrestle wherever. And I go up and I wrestle, and the show's probably got 50 people. I wrestled 3 matches because the roster's small. Like it's similar to where I grew up in terms of population, so there's not a huge amount of people. I do the first match, I do the second match back to back, and then I do the main. And it was a cool story throughout the show and whatnot. And anyway, it was a fun show. And doing those shows in itself, I feel like was great for me as a performer because it meant that it took me out of it almost did the opposite of what a lot of people say, where it's like I was a really small fish in my current pond, and I went and I became a big fish in this pond for a night, and all of a sudden that gave me a lot of confidence, and I was helping some of the guys that I was working with because they were newer than I was, and yeah, it was just like I don't know, it was a real turning point for me. This show in front of 50 people in far away place. But what ended up happening from there is I did that show. I was promoted on this show, and then from the promotion of that, a guy in Japan named Shota Suzuki, he was friends with the promoter, and he saw this new guy he hadn't seen on these posters before, and he decided to follow me on Instagram. I thought that's pretty cool. This guy's doing some good stuff in Japan. He was working for DT. He would do a lot of tours when American companies would go to Japan, stuff like that. I was like, okay, this is a great contact to have. That was the end of 2020. You fast forward now to 2022, early 2022, and he reaches out to me. Like, there's been no communication before now. He just emails me, DMs me, and he's like, hey, I like what I see on Instagram. I'm going to come to Australia. Do you think we could wrestle? And I was like, yes. Like,
Yes, please.
okay, sign me up. Let's do it. I reached out to Todd, who has a significant hand in booking YB Pro. And I said, hey, I don't know what the funds look like, but this guy's coming out to Australia. He wants to wrestle a match. do you think we can make it happen at Wide Bay? I'd love to see it happen. Like the dates lined up and everything. And Todd's like, look, let me see what I can do. And we do it. He comes out. This is during, this is 2022 when travel, in particular for Japan, was still quite difficult. So him
Yeah.
coming over here with COVID and stuff was tough. Like he had to land. We picked him up. We took him straight to get COVID tests and all sorts of stuff like that. It was a whole thing. And then, yeah, we drive the 3 hours from Brisbane to Wide Bay, and him and I wrestled. We have a pretty good match. And he was really happy with it. And then he says to me, he's like, look, if ever you would be interested in coming to Japan, I would help you. Like I'd be happy to help you. And I was like, and okay,
Hello.
all right. Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, and that's seriously how it started. That was January, not January, sorry, that was August of 2022. And then I was like, wow, that's great contact to have. He's basically invited me to come. Now let's figure it out. And similar to when I first started wrestling, I'd sort of started working a pretty important career job, like corporate kind of job. And so I was really focused on that. And it was, kind of the way life is, I guess, when you're an independent wrestler. You kind of have to make a choice sometimes. And out of nowhere in early 2023, that job just disappeared. I got let go of that job, and I was like literally one day to the next, out of nowhere. And I was like, oh, okay. What do I do now? My partner, she looked at me and she's like, why don't you go to Japan? And I was like, that's terrible life advice in terms of financial advice, but you know what? Let's do it. And yeah, I reached out to Shota. I said, look, you asked me if I'd be interested in coming. I'm interested in coming, and I've got a very open calendar. When should I come? And that was, March of 2023, and I was there in 2 months, and he helped me out heaps. And that's how it started. Like, it literally, that was the whole journey to get there.
So
One little independent show.
what's crazy is a couple things. I think
Yeah, there's a lot
I remember that I didn't know that was your first tour of Japan was in 2023, because that's about where in August-ish is about maybe a little bit before is when we fell into Pro Wrestling League and stumbled into that. And I started following you on social
Yep.
media at that point, and I saw that you were going to Japan, and I remember seeing that social media, and I was like, okay, all right. For me,
Yeah.
anytime that I see someone that's able to get out and do international stuff, I just get giddy, because I know that they're coming back, and they're coming back to share, and they're coming back to help the overall scene in general. Or, in my opinion, you should. Like, I mean, if you don't want everybody to succeed, what the fuck
course,
are you
yeah.
here for? Wrestling's the biggest team sport
Yeah.
you can ever possibly imagine.
Yeah.
But to know that was how it started, and that's the dream, really. Even for guys over here in the States, I always ask people like, "Hey, where do you want to work?" And the first thing comes out, Japan.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
what are you doing to make that happen? I don't know yet. Well,
Yeah.
you probably need to start thinking about that, because it takes work, and it's it's not going to just happen and fall in your lap. But it's in what it does. It can, right? Because in this situation, it did
Yeah.
simply by networking, and
Yeah.
the
100%.
having a good match. And to be fair, like not to gas you up by any means, I haven't seen a bad Mitch Ryder match yet, and I've tried, even because I hated you for a while. You and Eastman both. I was like, these motherfuckers. I told you before we came out there, like I came into you. Literally, my first match I saw of you was the triple threat where you dropped the belt to, I think it was Outback Adam.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
side note, and again, my ADHD just kicked in, so I just got to bear with me. You mentioned Punch Drunk earlier, and I do have to at least point out the fact that I find it ironic that you brought up Punch Drunk Instra, and I literally saw a Punch Drunk match Monday night. Literally Monday night.
Nice.
I saw who was he taking on? I think he was taking on K-Toa in ACW.
Yeah, I was just about to say, was it that one?
Yeah.
I'm excited to see that. I think that'd be a good match.
That's fantastic. I think Punch Drunk is sorely underrated, in my opinion, as far as like on the scene in general. That guy can go. In
100%.
ADHD, sorry, it's the son of a bitch. Pulling through your run when you go to Japan, you get this opportunity. Have you done just that one tour, or have you done a couple? What's that look like?
Yeah, so I've done 3 now. Done 3, and then I'm back again in October. So that'll be my 4th.
Fantastic.
Which is cool. And they've been of differing levels of what's the best way to put it? Differing levels of success, I guess, is probably the best way to put it. The first one was blew my expectations out of the water. Like I really, and I had some really amazing opportunities the very first time I went. I before, and I don't even know about this. This was kind of out of nowhere, but it was like maybe a week or two before I went on that first trip. My phone started blowing up. Match announcement came out, and it was myself teaming with like essentially Australia's. The way that I like to put it is he feels to me like he's Australia's Undertaker, and that's Hartley Jackson. He's someone that has had you know, immense success and probably one of the pioneers for really going abroad. He started he originally founded Wrestle Rampage in Adelaide.
Okay.
And then he traveled to, I think maybe in the mid 2000s, traveled to train at the LA dojo when it very first opened.
Got it.
And pretty much since then has had a career in pro wrestling in different capacities. He was a trainer at the PC for many years. And now he lives and works in Japan again. And I'd never met him before, never had a conversation with him before. And now all of a sudden I have to team with him, and it's my very first trip. And that was intimidating, but also like, wow, this is a big deal. And so that was on my very first trip, which was really cool. And then that sparked a really good relationship between he and I. You mentioned Punch Drunk Issue before. I like to think that he probably had a little hand in that because I know that they're boys. So if that is the case, he'll probably never tell me, but I like to think he probably had a little hand in helping me there. But that was my first trip. I thought, wow, like this has been great. Like I'll capitalize on this. I went back in the end of 2023, and it was only for a week and maybe 10 days, but on my way to the States. And it was a bit lackluster, if I'm being honest. Like I went the first time was so good. I thought, wow, I can only get better from here. And it was probably less inspiring, I guess, is probably the best way to put it. And then I had a bit of a break, and then I went again in April, end of April, start of May this year. And then that by far, I think, was my best trip. In particular, in terms of me as a wrestler, I think, for sure.
Well, first of all, if you ever come to the fucking States again and you're bringing tights and boots and I don't know about it, I'm going to be upset, number one. Because I try and catch you cats as much as possible when you're over here. Like, the Pareja was over here not too long ago. I guess it was about maybe over here. I don't know if they're over here now or not, but they were over here at least 7 months ago, and I had a chance to go see them. And I caught them in Florida because they were in Florida. You know, the hub of professional wrestling to a degree is 2 hours from my front door. So I will go and check out you guys if you're in the area. So let me know for sure.
100%.
Pro Wrestling League. I want to talk a little bit about Pro Wrestling League because we've got a lot of things happening over there with you. Initially, no secret, I was not a big fan of One Shot when things started, and natural progression has seen Mitch Ryder go from arguably being one of the most hated men to ever come out through the curtain to now the crowd has, in an organic way, has completely embraced you. Not only you, Todd Eastman as well. There's a massive story here. And I would like
that's a surprising one. The Todd one.
It is, but it was until I saw how it played out.
Yeah.
And I think that it pinpoints back to this fantastic match that I got to see between you and Robbie Eagles. And I think the world of Robbie Eagles as a talent as well. I think that this guy is tremendous. He's incredible. When I found out that you guys were headlining the show, and I was watching it with Bobby Bishop, and he didn't tell me that was the headlining match because he knew. Like, he just knew. He knew quietly that I'm a big fan of both of you guys. Brother, for 25 minutes, and all I heard was, I'm sorry about the hard cam. Fuck the hard cam. This ain't stopping the wrestling. There was a camera glitch or some bullshit. I was like, I don't
the
care.
first like 10 minutes. Yeah.
I don't care. These two are out here crushing it and killing it. And literally, you guys put on a clinic. And you get that big win. And I think for Mitch Ryder, the character, or what you're seeing on TV, that was, if that's not a solidifying moment, fucking nothing is. And then the aftermath, where you guys could have been assholes but you ended up being the good
Yeah.
guys. But let's talk a little bit about what led there and your run within Pro Wrestling League from, champion to, the feuds that you've had a little bit along the way to where we're at now, because you've got a lot of things brewing and revolving around one Jesse Daniels. We'll get there in just a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Jesse. Yeah. So I mean, we'll come back to Jesse, but yeah, it's my I've been very yeah, I've been very fortunate at Pro Wrestling League to when they came about. Oh, I could get this wrong, but I feel like they came about originally as a company in the begin or the end of 2018, maybe start of 2019 is that's where I would roughly say it was. And I was on the scene then. I was in a tag team. We were wearing hot pink wrestling tights. It was a look. It was a vibe. And as a team, we actually had moderate success. Myself and my tag team partner. And yeah, we had some decent success throughout some of the local indies. And anyway, like we sort of rolled into that success, and then all of a sudden, COVID came about, and then nothing happened for us
Yeah.
from March till probably September or October. There was literally nothing. At the time, I'd sort of put myself into an okay position, and so what I decided to do, because no one knew what was going to happen, was I thought, stuff this. I need to keep training. Like it was basically 2020 for me, to take it back a second. 2020 for me was going to be the year where I was really going to put my all into wrestling. I was going to travel abroad. I was going to, probably come to the States or something like that, because Japan wasn't an option for me in my head. That was going to be my year, right? Of course, fast forward, it wasn't anyone's year.
Absolutely.
So it was a tricky year. So I ended up what I ended up doing is I was already committed to that path, and so when everything kind of shut down, I ended up purchasing a wrestling ring. There was one that came up available, and I thought, all right, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to start training. If someone wants to train with me, cool. If they don't, I'm just going to roll by myself, and that'll be me. So I bought this ring. I rented out this really cool little boiler room. It was awesome. It had like broken down cars in it, and it was sick. It was like something you'd see on like the WWE SmackDown vs Raw video game. It was awesome.
Right. Gotcha.
Then I just put my ring in the middle of it, and I started training, and crazily enough, that for me was such a turning point in my own ability. Just me, just wrestling myself, just rolling around by myself, and getting positioning, and doing springboards for the first time, and flips and craziness. But just being in a ring, and just being in it for hours and hours and hours a week, that was a big turning point for me. And so then, because I was spending time in a ring and no one else really was, I started putting a couple of videos on social media, and then that got the attention of people like Jesse and Mitch at Pro Wrestling League. So that when Pro Wrestling League returned in their big return show in 2021 or 2022, they decided to position me as at the top of the card, essentially, against someone like Punch Drunk Istria, who had been at the top of cards all over the country for years and years at that point. And they basically sort of decided, like, look, this guy was really working hard while it was hard to work hard, and there was nothing to work or look forward to. And so yeah, they positioned me at the top of their show, and decided to put me as the champion, and I was the first champion in the new era of Pro Wrestling League, and was really fortunate to carry that belt for a year and a bit. I think maybe I'm wrong on that. I think it was about a year and a bit, and really sort of try and bring it in, and yeah, work. Learning on the job, and brought it through, and that was my reintroduction to Pro Wrestling League in the group that we had top tier, and yeah, feuds with Punch Drunk History and Outback Adam, and then very quickly it became evident that Outback Adam was going to be the guy, and so to help him in that moment was really cool. But then after that, like, I was kind of the champion for a bit, so I was like, well, now what am I? Like, I was the champ. Now I'm no belt Mitch.
Yeah.
Now what am I going to do? And so you go through a little bit of a discovery process, and what while I'm not the champion, I'm not in the championship picture anymore. What can I control? Well, I can control how I look. I can control what my gear looks like, and I can control the quality of my matches for the most part. So that's what I focused on. I changed my gear up. I changed my look up. I started eating better and training probably the same. It was really just the food that made me look better. And then yeah, I just started focusing more on the quality of my in ring, and that's pretty much brought us to today, which I think the fans started to notice that, which is why switch happened. And they were like, wow, this guy's really, really putting it in. He's been putting it in overseas. He's been working really hard, and he's not too bad in the ring. Maybe we should get around this guy. Maybe he's not that bad after all. And then I wrestled Robbie Eagles.
And
then,
I
yeah.
mean, there it is, right? Like, you know, what I think is there's several cool things here for me. Just sitting and listening to it is, first of all, it sounds like that I just missed your return run by about a year and a half, which is not too bad.
Yep.
Uh,
That's all right.
the second thing is you know, there was always a saying, I was always a heel. I was always a bad guy. I would always run my mouth and you know, but just come and kick my ass and let me collect this money and I'm gonna go on about my business.
Yeah.
The best heels make the better baby faces and vice versa. Like the more that you are hated, the more they're gonna love you when it happens, right? And something that you had said earlier, organic. So you got to know when that moment is happening and when it's gonna happen, and it just seems like it fell right into your laps. You know, essentially after the Robbie Eagles match, and there that was the contract match, right? That was where, you know, the
Correct.
company was up, and Mitch came to the ring and gave the contract, and here was this moment, and you know, it was, and truly it was all about respect, is how we looped it back around, and there was a moment there where it was like, oh shit, didn't see that coming. Right. And and in the midst of this moment where, you know, you're shaking hands with Mitch, Todd shaking hands, you're putting it aside. The motherfucking lights go out. And this son of a bitch. And I've had Jesse on my show several times.
Yeah.
And did not know what was in store until it happened. Like he teased it. He didn't give me a whole lot of info. And you know, kind of turned the world upside down for Pro Wrestling League. And, you know, talk to me a little bit about that. You know, you were in the ring when this happened. You were taken down.
I was in the ring.
You know,
I was tense. I was, you know, the Robbie Eagles match. It took, I don't know when this happened. Maybe, I mean, it's happened throughout my career a little bit, but that Robbie Eagles match, I was pretty emotional after it. It's for us. It was the. I mean, obviously, it's certainly not lost on me the sort of the honor it is to be in that position and to have that match and then to come out the victor of that match is a huge feather in my cap, and that was certainly not lost on me in the moment. But the other things that were going on behind the scenes there was, originally that match was going to be me and Mitch McCarthy. That was the match, and I think that's kind of obvious. People probably knew that was where that was going, and then and that's a match that we'd been building to for a really long time, and it had been talked about for even longer again before that. And so what we found is, you know, Mitch obviously had to retire and due to injury, which he didn't want to do. Like, that wasn't part of his plan. He wanted to come through and do the match, and so to then have a change, have it be the match with Robbie Eagles, to come out and win that match, and then to have the moment in the ring with Mitch, it was special. And like I said, it was emotional. Behind the scenes, you know, Mitch is the guy that I actually bought that wrestling ring off all those years ago that started this journey. He was the guy that owned it. I bought it from him, and so him and I, we've been intertwined for a really long time. You know, when I was barely even on the shows, because I lived so far away from everyone else, I would stay at his house before I drove home the next morning. Like, we have a lot of history there behind the scenes. There's a lot of love there. So then you fast forward, we're having this moment, this big match has happened. Emotionally, you're spent. You've physically you're spent, and then that drains the emotion from you. Having this moment, everyone's all happy, and then the lights go out, and then bang, that happens, and Jesse just comes to ruin the party. I'm done. He's taken me out. He's taken Mitch out. He's taken Todd out. And credit to him. Smart move. Like, I didn't see it coming. We were just going to give the contract back. You have it. It's yours. We just wanted to prove it. He knew that. Like, brother knew that there was going to be an opportunity where the contract was going to be blank. He could come in and take it. And that's what he did. And full credit to him. And he's been using all of his power since to come in and wreak havoc on the shows. You'll see it when you watch Homecoming. He's a big part of that show. But not for long. Not for long. We got some stuff coming up that is... We'll take the power back. I think that's a Rage Against the Machine, Sean. We're going to take the power back.
I mean, I like where this is going. It sounds like somebody's going to put up or shut up time. It sounds like where we're headed. And I think, not only you, right? Like, I'm very friendly with Bobby Bishop. But Bobby, we have a standing invite to watch a lot of the Pro Wrestling League stuff together, and seeing Bobby getting assaulted and taken advantage of, and the stuff that has been going on. It leads to when is enough, right? And,
it's
go ahead.
Yeah. So I feel like this really starts. I mean, the whole thing really starts with Bobby and Jesse. And if Bobby hadn't have beaten Jesse, maybe we wouldn't be here, right? If Bobby hadn't made Jesse say I quit, I don't know if we'd all be here. But what happens is, Bobby comes through, dog collar, I quit, the whole deal.
Yeah.
And he's gone, right? Jesse quits. Then he has to rethink. He comes out, he takes our moment, he signs the contract. But then, of course, he's basically one man against the whole roster, right? So he's like, I got to do some recruiting here. And he does. Recruits well in Uniquely Violent. Trent and Sam Cannon, the boys.
Fuck Trent O'Day.
And so, that's a more common theme. I feel like that pops up a lot. Wrestle Radio Australia here, it's popping up. I feel like people just, fuck Trent O'Day. That's the way it rolls, right?
Yeah, but I thank Bobby Bishop for that, because anytime Trent O'Day's mentioned, fuck Trent O'Day. I literally made a clip reel of him just saying fuck Trent O'Day. It was
perfect. So see, even you're intertwined here. You're making this happen too, right? So
amen. He threatened to sue me, so fuck it.
He gets those boys in. Yeah, look, he's a talented in-ring performer. That is for sure. Both of them are. Sam Cannon, I mean, I'll give that brother his flowers too. Like, I've never seen someone that big do a moonsault. Have you? Like, it's insanity. And so those two are two guys that you would consider underrated. I would consider them underrated pro wrestlers. What are they doing picking Jesse Daniels' side? Like, you think that's the route to the top? I don't know, brother. He's got those two, right? He's picked those two. They've got beef with Bobby. They've also got beef with Wakehol's Most Wanted, a couple prisoners. Yeah. So ultimately, that leaves us aligning over here, right? So it's like it's Bobby, Wakehol's Most Wanted, Jesse, and Uniquely Violent, the boys. Violence business. Either way, that's what they call. You recruit Rip Riley, monster, and you make him wrestle Todd. Why? Because he's power hungry. That's why. He's got the power, right? So he's wrestling Todd. Todd comes through. I'll let you see what happens there in that match. That's on Homecoming, right? All is well. Todd's there. Jesse has beef with Zero, pro wrestling owner. That's a natural form. I'll let you see what happens at Homecoming for that as well. And then Jake Nova comes back out of nowhere. Now, Jake Nova's someone that you're probably not familiar with. He was, he'd been gone well before your time watching Pro Wrestling League. One thing I will say about Jake Nova is and this is not a comparison I'm making, this is a comparison a lot of people have made, but Jake Nova was I am the Jake Nova of this generation. It's just not to blow smoke, but that's what people have considered me. If there was ever an international wrestler that would come to Queensland to pro wrestling, to anything, Jake would be the guy that wrestled. And Jake wrestled Will Ospreay, for example, when Will Ospreay was out here in 2019, 2020, something like that. If there's ever an international talent that needs a singles match here in Queensland, I'm the guy that's fortunate enough to get to wrestle him. So we're really it's a generational clash there. I get to wrestle Jake at this past Homecoming show. guess we'll see what happens there too. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to spoil things for you. I don't want to blow this up for you. But essentially, it's led to a match coming up in October 18, that really forces us to take back what's ours from a pro wrestling league perspective. I'm there with Bobby, I'm there with Wake Hall's Most Modded, and I'm there with Zero, the owner of pro wrestling, the rightful owner of pro wrestling league, and we're going to go to war inside what they're calling the Grindhouse. I've never been in a Grindhouse match, but all I know is that there isn't many rules, and that from what my understanding is, there could be a cage involved. That's all I'm gonna let on, because I don't know how much I'm actually supposed to let on here, but I know we're
Well,
gonna go hard come October 18.
it sounds like that it's, I have a saying on my channel. It's called the corner of fuck around and find out. And it sounds like
That's where it'll be.
sounds like that we're at the intersection of that with everything that's been
Yep.
brewing down in Pro Wrestling League, down there in Australia. And sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. And it sounds like you guys have been, kind of put in a corner, backed into a corner, if you will, a little bit, and it's time to stand up and fight. And let's just see what happens. You know what? No disqualification, no rules. Okay, cool. That means no fucking excuses. One team's going to walk in and win. One team is going to walk out and lose. And whoever was on the losing side of that equation, the only thing that is for certain is that the landscape of Pro Wrestling League is going to shift in one direction or the other. And it's going to boil down to
100%.
what you guys bring to the table. And I know that but yourself, and I know Bobby Bishop, I know you guys aren't stupid. I know you guys are not, you're not walking into, bringing a knife to a gunfight, as the saying is.
Sure.
So with this war that is looming, not that you're going to give anybody any kind of warning, because at this point, warnings are over. What can they expect out of you? What are you going to be bringing to this dance? And whoever gets in your way, what's on your mind?
For me, I think I mean it's so cliche, but I seriously do have a point to prove, and what I mean by that is, for a long time now, I have been a wrestler. I've been wrestling, been doing, I've been putting on wrestling matches. I've could count on one hand, I could probably count on a couple of fingers how many matches that I've been in where the stakes are high and the stipulation is very broad and open, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would be able to count on a couple of fingers how many matches like that I've been in. You hear a lot about people needing to prove how tough they are in this business and things like that. And I feel like my match at Homecoming, actually, the one that I just had, I feel like that's a good teaser for that. I feel like there was a lot there. Jake Nova beat me up. He beat me up a lot. And so I really had to persevere through that match, persevere through a lot of pain. Going into that match, I was in a lot of pain, truth be told. So I really had to persevere to get through that match. And come October 18, it's going to be much the same. But this time, it's a point to prove. No one's seen One Shot Ryder. No one's seen Mitch Ryder. No one's seen Mitch really have to go through the ringer. You mentioned before you didn't like me very much when you first started seeing me, and it was because I was a bit of a chicken shit. I was weaseling my way out of stuff, and I've stopped doing that now because I've seen the light. But I still feel like I have a lot to prove when it comes to toughness and really throwing it at the wall. So that's what you'll expect from me come October 18.
That'd be perfectly fair. I being a heel, if I don't like you, that means you're doing something right. That's what that means. It means
Exactly.
that means I want to punch you in the face, which means you're getting the reaction that you need to get, at least from my perspective. That's just where it's at now. I'm definitely tuned in, and I'm locked in on what's going to be happening down here, because this is, like I said, as far as Pro Wrestling League is concerned, this thing ends one way or it ends the other. Now, I don't know what Jesse has up his sleeve. I know that he's not a stupid man either. He picked and chose a spot to get to where he's at now, and he's aligned himself with some pretty interesting army members here, if you will. Rip Riley is the one that I would be concerned about the most. Obviously, this guy's a big dude. He's a monster, as they say. Locked in a situation. Bear in mind, if this is indeed in a cage or in some form of a cage, we're unsure, guys. We're just armchair quarterbacking.
Yeah.
You're going to be locked in a situation with a monster one way or another, cage or no cage. There's obviously no DQ. There's anything goes. How are you guys going to be able to counteract someone that size? And I know that you have experience, or Bobby has experience with Rip for sure. Do you have a whole lot of experience with him? And if so, like, what's that?
Yeah, a lot of experience actually with Rip in multi-people situations, mainly tags. But I've wrestled Rip a lot. Ironically, I've actually wrestled him I wrestled him and Bobby as a team the very first night that Rip turned on Bobby and really solidified himself as the monster going back 5 years ago nearly. I was in that match. Actually, someone else who was in that match was Jake Nova. He was my tag team partner. And so these roads have been aligning for a really long time. One thing I didn't mention, actually, just jumping back to Jake Nova, and something that you will not know, but the other reason why people draw so many comparisons to us is Todd was his manager. So Todd was Jake Nova's manager. Yeah, and I came up under both of them almost. Like I was sort of like their young boy in a way. And eventually Jake moved on and I moved into that spot with Todd and that's been the history there. So that's another, like these paths are very, very aligned and they're all intertwined. They have been for years. If anything, I'm probably in this match. I would be one of the more rookies in this match when it comes to the stories aligning. Like these guys have been going to war for a decade now. Rip's a great example. Like that dude is, he really is a monster. Like he's huge. And the other thing that Rip has is he's not afraid. That dude will put himself through anything to put his opponent through hell. And that's just the truth. Like that dude will go to the deepest depths he can as long as he's dragging you with him.
He's a monster. He's just somebody that you're gonna have to counteract, and you guys are gonna have to find a way to neutralize. Obviously, that'd be my part of the course on that. But we're gonna take this motherfucker out, and then we can deal with the rest of it.
Then we can deal with everyone else.
I do want to take a few minutes, and I want to talk about Todd Eastman because here's another guy that's on the scene in Australia that I truly don't think gets the flowers that he deserves. And I say that not just because of what he's done with Pro Wrestling League and being your manager, but you just mentioned he's managed other people in the past. He's done a lot with Wide Bay Pro Wrestling. Also does the podcast, the wrestling podcast. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. I always see their clips. There's 3 or 4 Wrestle Australia. There's a lot that this guy's trying to do down there to get the light and get attention on Australian wrestling, and I can commend and appreciate and respect that. So I really want to know the importance of Todd Eastman to you, not only to you, to what he means for the scene down there, because again, I'm a firm believer of casting my light on anybody that's doing anything positive for professional wrestling, and Todd Eastman's one of those guys.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know if I've seen anyone from a behind the scenes perspective that has more passion about pushing the agenda of pro wrestling in Australia. He's certainly someone that is absolutely at the forefront of, like we were saying, like Wide Bay Pro, Wrestle Radio Australia, the longest running wrestling podcast here in Australia. He's been doing that they just celebrated their 500th episode, I should say. Started as an interview, podcast essentially, which, that's a hard ask, especially when they started back in sort of 2012, 2013. I believe that's when they started to try and find a new wrestler in Australia to interview every week. Like that's before I even discovered Australian wrestling. So that's how long they've been at it. And he's been the mainstay. Like he's added people along the way, and he started with a guy named Josh Armour, who unfortunately is no longer with us. And Todd continues that on in his legacy. At least that's my understanding of one of the main reasons he continues it on. But yeah, he's just at that forefront of really pushing pro wrestling from a position of someone that isn't in the ring. He stands adjacent to the ring. He tries to make the other people the stars, and And you can see that when he's out there, but you can also, when you're behind the scenes, you absolutely know that as well. And from my perspective, like he's my Paul Heyman, he's my wise man, you know, like when and Heyman famously said this in his Hall of Fame speech, and obviously things have changed. A little Easter egg for him, I'm sure, but you know, Todd and I will be together as long as Todd wants to be involved in pro wrestling. If Todd decides he wants to hang up the boots or hang up the announcing jacket, he can. But until that day, I'm not gonna. I won't stray. If we were gonna stray, we would have done it over the last few months when the organic shift came towards me and people were starting to like me because they weren't on board with Todd at first. Now these last two shows, well and truly on board with Todd. Maybe more so than me. I don't know, but yeah, for as long as Todd wants to, him and I will be we will be together. He's a brother for real.
I commend him 100%. As I learn more, again, I have no real direction when I started doing what we were doing. This has been we're about 2.5 years deep now of just learning
Yeah.
as I go, right? I just threw a camera on and started watching wrestling, and then I started getting people following me, and I don't know who the fuck they are, and then I get random messages and stuff like that. But I say this because there are certain things that I take away from people, and one thing that I took away from my encounters with Todd, and it's only been a handful of times, is his passion that he has for what he's doing. And something that you just touched on, he makes everyone else the stars. So I learned stuff from him, and he doesn't even know it. So, like, here's an example. Here's a spoiler for anyone out there watching, and if Todd ever sees this, like when we do stuff behind the scenes, sponsorships, and whatever that may look like, we don't ever ask people to go out there and say, "Hey, this came from CCP podcasting." Matter of fact, we try and tell you to do the opposite. And it goes back to a conversation that I just not in, and Todd doesn't even realize how important it was because it was just something he said in passing, but it was something that I picked up on, and I was like, I bet you if I utilize this in this way and in this direction, something better is going to happen for what we are trying to do here, and I'll be damned if it didn't. Like totally 100%. And I will always appreciate that about Todd Eastman and what he's doing and what he's happening there. Cause he truly is, this didn't get didn't get the flowers that he deserves. And if he doesn't, or if he didn't, well, I'm going to give them to him and know that at least over here in the States from this side of the equation, brother, we appreciate you and what you're doing and hope that you continue on.
Yeah.
It's just good 100%. To see. You don't get a whole lot of, good brothers, if you will, that are legitimately good brothers. At the end of the day,
100%.
So
yeah,
now we're gonna get to some $1 million questions for you, buddy, because this is where we're gonna get deep.
Nice.
First question I've got for you, and I ask everybody this, and there's several, and they're gonna come in not necessarily in rapid succession, but they're coming. The first one I've got for you is, you've done some international stuff, but you've been to Japan. And you've got some other places on your radar. I'm really curious to know. I want to know some companies out there internationally that you do want to work for, that you want to try and get your foot in the door on. The beautiful thing about what we've been able to do over the last couple of years is make a lot of friends and make a lot of acquaintances with a lot of different companies. So I'm real curious from your brain, where are some places that you would like to work?
Yeah, for sure. One something that is you probably don't see it a huge amount in my wrestling style, in particular on in front of the camera, but a lot of the wrestling that I love and a lot of the wrestling that I practice and teach and train at 3 Count is actually lucha libre.
Okay.
Love lucha. I had the opportunity to wrestle in South America in 2022, at the end of 2022. And that was where I really fell in love with lucha. And I will give a shout out to one company in Peru. They're called Gladiadores, and that essentially translates to gladiators if you don't speak Spanish like myself. But it's they are an unbelievable wrestling promotion, top to bottom. They probably wrestle in front of maybe 150, 200 people in their arena that they have, which is it's their own well, it's not purpose built, but it's their own spot. And they pack it out, but that's probably the capacity. They have such unbelievable talent down there in Peru. Like, it is unreal, but it's one of those places, even more so than Australia, that just no one knows about. Some of those pro wrestlers are just so impressive. So I will give a shout out to them, and I will be back there in January. That's a first. That's an exclusive. I'll actually be back in Peru in January, which is sick. But lucha is something that I absolutely love. So Mexico is somewhere that I would love. That's somewhere I haven't been. I would love to wrestle in Mexico, somewhere like the Crash or AAA or something like that. Right? Of course, that would be the big places I'd love to go. I'm gaining some friends in Mexico, which is lovely. Some people I met on this last trip to Japan, the Lucha Kings, a couple of legends, Mecha Wolf, people like that.
Yeah.
So lucha is something that I love to do, and I'd love to do that in the birthplace of it. So Mexico for sure. The other big one, I think, I would obviously, of course, love to wrestle in North America. Like, that's such a, that's where my dream started. That's where I thought my dream was going to end up for the longest time, until I realized just how difficult it was to get a working visa in the United States.
Especially now.
That's a tough one. Exactly. So like, there's, pretty much anywhere in the US, I would love the opportunity to wrestle. But if I was talking again back in Japan, the big goal of mine now in Japan is to sort of find a home promotion there that I can do a couple tours with every year and come home and do my thing and go on a little 2-week trip. So I'm very open there, and I've got some good connections. But places like somewhere like an All Japan or a DDT or a Gumbo Pro or 2AW, things like that in Japan. That's what I've got my sights set on.
So funny, not necessarily funny, but ironic. You mentioned the Crash or the Clash, whichever the company has down there.
Crash,
I have some friends who are friendly with them. So when you get ready to line some stuff up, if they don't help you out, then I'll put you in touch with some people who might be able to help you out as well. That's what I love about this.
Thank you.
And asking questions like this. I'm telling you, dude, we've probably interviewed. I'm not kidding you. I don't even call these interviews. I call them conversations, because it's not an interview format to me. I'm asking questions, but it's more like it's totally organic. We're 80, 85 deep, right? Probably at this point. And everybody that we've talked to, there's been a couple that probably just like, fuck you, guy, I don't want to come back. But just about everybody else comes back and wants to do more stuff with us. But we love the network aspect of it and being able to hook guys up and get people booked, or at least introduce you, and then you figure out like what that looks like and all that jazz. Like, that's the cool stuff for me, and where I get the gratification is because, again, you guys are out there crushing it for us. We're the ones watching this and we're seeing it. So if we can help, we got to help. This is the way it is. So I'm very curious to see if we can make that Mexico thing happen at some point. That'll be fun.
Let's do it. I'm gonna be in that side of the world in January, or January, February. So
okay, so you're gonna be over here, like in my neck of the woods of the States,
in South America.
South America.
So then, but
Peru. Yeah,
it's literally the other side of the world for me. So
that's true.
I'm already on that side of the world.
Listen, I guess I just gotta meet you halfway or some shit. I gotta do something, right?
We'll do something.
We got that out of the way. Now, here's another question for you, and this is one of my go-tos, and I like to call it the $1 million questions, because they're to me they're very, very valuable. Real shit, because you've been in the ring with a lot of different people. You've seen a lot of people that I have not seen and may not know. According to you, who are some people that we should be watching? And what I mean by that is, when you give me your answer, I'll tell you why I'm asking you the question. And it doesn't sound fair, but it will. Okay. I promise.
Yeah. I'm gonna suggest. I want to suggest 3 different people.
Sure.
But I want to suggest them for 3 different reasons, right? So, one, you're probably familiar with all of them. I would think. I think someone that I don't necessarily say I'm jealous of, but someone that I wish I had their ability and experience and their youth is JJ Avery.
Yes.
Young JJ Avery. Dude is like 19, maybe 20. Like, I just started training when I was 19. And to the fact that he's, been able to do a bunch of stuff, he's trained with some excellent people, he's had great success already on a local level. He's putting on size, like he's getting bigger. Like that's someone I'm just like, man, like I'm 28. Imagine him in 9 more years. Like it's just going to be nuts. So that's someone that I think people will be on the lookout for soon. Just because he's just got so much time and such a bright future ahead of him. So that's sick. Someone that I think is underrated, that from just a pure entertainment, has the crowd no matter what, just knows how to control their audience, is Stepdad Chris, or Chris Dink. He's someone that he just knows how to entertain an audience. He's got crowd presence from that entertaining perspective that I wish I had. Like he's so good on his feet, brother. He just kills it. And then the third person that I want to mention is someone that probably will never get their flowers just purely based on their position. That's someone who does commentary for Pro Wrestling League and YBay Pro, and that's Mr. Lachlan Albert. I watched our homecoming show this past week, and he's the only consistent commentator throughout the entire show. He could commentate for one of the big pro wrestling companies in the world. His product knowledge is ridiculous. Like he just knows everything about every wrestler. His voice sounds like he could be on TV. He just knows what to say. He knows how to tell the story. I like to think of him almost a little bit as, like, in particular during my match, he was really the only one you could hear, because I think Smashface, Mitch McCarthy, he was the other guy on commentary, but I think he was fearing for my life for most of the match. So he was quite quiet. He was rather quiet. And so he really carried that particular call. And he, from telling the story to putting over the moves to everything, like, he just does such a good job. And yeah, I can't give that dude his flowers enough. I think, and I tell him that, but I just think from a listening and from a, like, he just does such a good job on commentary, and he could do it for the best companies in the world, I think.
First of all, you've made exclusive company. You're the only person in all of these interviews to, when I say who should we be watching, that have given me an announcer, like a physical announcer. And I appreciate that, because I always say that there's everybody's job in professional wrestling is important, and you can't do one without the other. 100%. And be successful, or as successful as you could be. And I ask you, like, who should we be watching? Because, like, what you don't know is we have a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. I have a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of different show ideas, a lot of different concepts. The platform is growing, and part of a good piece of what our platform began as was first time watches. If we don't know who they are, well, they make our spreadsheets, and then we come around eventually and we do a show on them. Whether it's a spotlight show, whether it's a full show with them attached to it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Whatever that looks like when we get there. But the only way we would know where these guys are and where to look is if, without guys like you giving us the recommendations for them. Because
I will give you one more too, if I can.
That's your list, brother. It's your time. You tell me how many people.
I'll say just one more. I'll give you another two. Actually, I'll give you another two. Renegade, big boy. I think he's grossly underrated as a pro wrestler. Like he's been around a really long time, but he's very good considering his size and his build, and like, not that he's a massive guy or anything, but like, he doesn't have the typical look of a pro wrestler. He's got his own unique thing going on, and he, from a pro wrestling ability, is awesome. So I'll shout him out as well. And then the other one that made me think I need to say this guy for sure is Solomon Blackwell. You would have seen some of his work, I'm sure, but he's someone that is, for how long he's been in the business, I've never seen anyone more cool. Like, he's just so cool. The dude just oozes charisma, but his technical ability is probably, he would be one of the best technical wrestlers in the entire country, and not enough people see him.
I have seen him once or twice, for sure. The name is familiar, and if the name is familiar, then I know I've seen him. Like, I can't place the face yet, but I think I had to have seen him at least once or twice with all of the wrestling that I've seen throughout Australia. They have to hit.
You'll see more of him too. Coming up, definitely.
Well, don't threaten me with a good time. I'm all about good wrestling, so I'm here for it. All right, so my next question. I have two more questions for you, and we'll start wrapping things up and tying a bow on it.
Yeah.
And this one is kind of the biggie. It's guaranteed to be clipped. I'm not kidding you. This is one that if there wasn't a clip coming, this is it. In
All right, nice.
our world of independent wrestling, professional wrestling in general, dude's on fire everywhere. No matter what continent you're on, there's good wrestling literally everywhere right now. Which makes the array of opponents vast. So if you had the opportunity to call your own shots and get into the ring with anyone out there on the scene right now, whether it's in the States, whether it's in the UK, doesn't matter. Anywhere internationally, could be in your own backyard. But who are some people that you want to get in the ring with?
You say backyard. Now I'm like, don't tempt me with a good time.
Just saying.
That's my roots.
Yes, sir.
And that's really hard. That's actually a really tough question. I feel like I automatically come back to people that I've already wrestled, but I don't want to say people like that. The reason why though is because I feel like I was awarded the opportunity to wrestle really, really top wrestlers a couple of years ago, and God, I wish I could wrestle them now. Like I feel like personally in the last 12 to 18 months, 6 months, I don't know, recently, my ability and myself as a wrestler from look to gear to wrestling, like in-ring ability, I just feel like I blow past me out of the water. And so there's opponents there that I wish that I could wrestle now. So the one that I guess just keeps coming back to me is someone like Vikingo, right? Like I wrestled him in 2023 when I was really just figuring things out. Like I really feel like that was the start of me starting to get a bit of a grip on what was going on. To be able to be in that position now when I've put a lot more high flying moves into my arsenal and things like that, like that would be really special. Another person I've wrestled as well, in a tag team environment, but also along that similar lucha libre vein, is Mecha Wolf. I've wrestled him in a tag team environment many years ago. I'd love to wrestle him in a singles, just because I feel like, once again, like wrestling ability wise, I've really taken things to another level myself. So to then be able to mix up again with people that are at another level now to bring that same energy, I think would be really, really cool. So those two stand out. From a lucha perspective, if I was going to say, I was just going to take it around the world for you. Oh man, that's hard. That's a really hard one.
I know.
It's tough.
It's broad. It's so broad. Like I
Oh,
watch wrestling literally 45, 50 hours a week. Like I see you, like if I'm going into different, areas or countries, if you will, like UK for me, I would love to
yep.
see you in there with like a Cara Noir or a Kid
That's
Lycos
cool. Very cool.
or
Yeah.
Luke Jacobs. I mean, Michael
Yep.
Oku. I think you think that you would tear it down. Zosiah is another
Yeah.
one that comes to mind.
Yep.
Fucking in the States, don't
That's
even get me
awesome. Yeah.
started, dude. Don't do it. There's a cat over in Portugal that I think you would fucking tear it down with. Damiao is his name.
Yep.
He is
Okay.
young. He's just getting his feet up underneath him, and they're starting to really make some
That's awesome.
progress. I'm telling you, dude. Like I can see you crushing it in the ring with literally anybody, and
Thank
it'd
you.
be fantastic.
Thank you, man.
I'm just keeping it 100. I see all these people all over the world, and in my head, I have my own mental dream matches. So I'm like, oh shit,
That's awesome.
put him here. Oh, if I could do this, armchair quarterback this motherfucker and make this happen, it would be fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't mean to step on you in your answer. I am so sorry.
No, thank you. I'm That's awesome, because there's so many people, like there's gonna be so many people I'm gonna jump off this and be like, oh, why didn't I say that person, that person, that person? Like another person that comes to mind, someone I actually have wrestled before, but like our match got cut so short because I got hurt, and that's the guy that I credit with being my trainer, and that's Mark Davis, like AEW's Mark Davis.
Yeah.
He's someone I would absolutely love to throw down with again, especially now because that was years ago, and we got like 7 minutes in, and I busted my shoulder. So like, to have another shot at that would be amazing. Yeah, like
Well,
You started mentioning Europe before. Like another wrestler I really like is Mike. I'm gonna butcher his name. Mike DiVecchiobi, I think his name is. He's a massive guy, but God, he does some unbelievable stuff. Like he's just so jacked and just he's doing shooting star presses and this nuts. So there's so many people, and I'm gonna jump off and I'm gonna be like, wow, I should have said this person, this person, this person. But
oh well, guys, and if he didn't say your name, don't be that
I have to come
fucker.
back, I guess.
Don't be that guy. Say, oh God, you didn't mention me. Well, he was put on the spot. He didn't know it was coming. I think I literally told him I just had 3 questions that I always ask, and I gave him the first one. I didn't give him the other 2. Maybe I did. I don't remember. There's been a lot happening in my world over the last 3
We've gone
weeks.
2.
We've talked a lot about wrestling and everything that comes along with it, and something that you did touch on earlier, and it's always something I do ask about on the way out, is because a lot of people don't ever see sacrifices that are made to even try to do this and do this at a level that you're doing this on. And there's a lot of different things, and in a world that is so crazy and so wild that is professional wrestling. On the outside of the world, what are some of the things that you like to do to relax? How does Mitch Ryder kind of just wind down and do him? What's some stuff that you like to do?
Yeah, that's a solid question. It's funny. So Mitch Ryder is now a dad. So I'm a dad now. I have a little one.
Congratulations.
Thank you. She's 15 months old, so she's like doing all the cool stuff. She's having a great time. She's getting around and starting to say stuff to me, and she loves reading books and things like that. So for me, that's probably, I mean, that's all I really get time to do is hang out with her. And then by the time that's all done, I love to just binge a show on Netflix. Like by the time she's in bed and I'm not training and at work, like like I'm just dead. I'm passing out. I'm throwing on whatever's on Netflix. Love a good sports documentary. This is probably like this is probably gonna rub people the wrong way. I'm a big Detroit Lions guy. Randomly.
Oh man.
Randomly. So yeah, I watched the Netflix doco Receiver, and I just became a massive fan of the Detroit Lions just based off that. So it's coming into the season, so I'm going to be watching a bit of Lions football. But yeah, honestly, I just hang out with my little one and my fiance and our dog. That's really what I kind of do, and yeah, that's sort of for me now. Like I don't want to necessarily say it's a driving force, but it's something that I didn't think I would be able to do both. I didn't think I'd be able to wrestle still and continue to travel overseas and travel interstate and things like that while having a little one. I kind of thought that once she came along, like not my career would be over, but me pursuing wrestling at a high, like at the level that I want to try and get to, would be finished. And I can only really thank my very supportive fiance for that, and the fact that my family's awesome and they still are pushing me hard to attack wrestling. And that's actually where the name One Shot Rider comes from. And I don't know if I've ever said that on a podcast before, but the trip that I went to on it was a short trip to Japan, and then I went to the States, and I stayed in the States for a month. I was actually in Florida, ironically. I was there, and I was struggling to get bookings in the US, and I didn't know this. This was news to me, because my name, Mitch Ryder, that used to be an independent wrestler in the States, and I had no idea about that. Spelt the same, everything. It was the complete same, except that pro wrestler had unfortunately passed away. And so people wouldn't book me just because I had the same name as this guy. They thought it'd be disrespectful. But I didn't know that until like halfway, 3/4 of the way through my trip. So I had to quickly think of a new name on the spot. Like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And in my head at the time, because my daughter wasn't born yet, I thought, wow, this is like my one shot to really get noticed. This is like my one, crack at the brass ring kind of thing. And I thought, one shot rider, that's kind of cool. That's where it came from. So yeah.
No, man, I
stuck,
like it.
and now I kind of alternate. Yeah.
We have a
That's a long-winded way to answer your question.
We have a run-in in chat.
You got a run-in?
Yeah, we do. It's from a Bobby Bishop who should be getting married right now. He just said that was adorable.
Yeah, dude. I'm gonna be at his wedding in like 2 hours. Get out of here, Bobby.
He's like, bro, wrap
That's
it
so
up.
funny.
Wedding calls. That's what he's doing.
That's
So
awesome.
I do want to go back to, we were discussing Todd Eastman a minute ago. The giant coyote came in and just said, Todd learned from him, and he didn't even know it. That Todd made him a better person than he could ever hope for, and he owed him a lot too. So there's a lot of folks out there, I guess, want to give Mr. Eastman a little love, but. And your
That's
token,
awesome.
I know that you've got a wedding that you've got to get to, man. And truly, I am very grateful that I had the time to sit down with you that I've had today. And we just scratched the surface, and there was a lot of stuff that we didn't even get to, the infamous Vikingo story, but we'll get to it at some point for
Go
sure.
back to it.
Because I want you to come back, man. I have a great time, and I had a great time with you, and I hope that you had fun here with us today as well.
Yeah, 100%. This was awesome. Thank you so much for having me. This is I love anything like this, and especially when just an organic chat and we really just have a conversation. It's not an interview. It's just like let's just talk wrestling and talk about life. And I really appreciate you having me, man. Thank you so much.
No, man, that's totally my pleasure, and definitely we need to get with Bobby, and maybe the next time we sit down and watch some PWL, we get you on that call as well and have a little fun with us,
100%. That'd be sick.
and then sit down and chill out and watch the show back with us. I always like to turn the floor over to my guests. Is there anything out there that you want to plug? Anything out there that you want to get out there that you have going on? If you do, the floor is yours, and take it away.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, look, I'll plug my social media. It's at One Shot Rider, so ONESHOTRYDER. That's on Twitter or X, and that's on Instagram. That's where you'll find me. I think that's YouTube too. I don't know if there's anything on my YouTube, but maybe there will be one day. I think it's all the same though. It's all the same. So yeah, One Shot Rider on all the socials. Get Around Pro Wrestling League. They put all of their shows on YouTube for free. You can watch the entire show top to bottom, and there is some really great wrestling on those shows. So I would implore anyone to go out of their way and see that. Wide Bay Pro as well. They throw a lot of their shows on YouTube. I'm not sure if they're currently on YouTube, but yeah, get just pro wrestling. One thing I've noticed in particular going abroad is people are always surprised that there's pro wrestling in Australia, and then they're even more surprised to see that the wrestling quality is actually really good. Another thing I've noticed by being abroad is that Australian pro wrestling can hang anywhere in the world and be at the top of the card. And so, yeah, I just implore people to really go out and see Australian pro wrestling in all states and on all the platforms here on YouTube on YouTube and on everyone's profiles, and just get around it because there's some really, really good wrestling, and the production quality of the wrestling is really good too. Like it's not like it's a grainy roaming cam with no commentary that you got to sit through 3 hours of. Like it's well produced, and the quality in ring is also very good.
You're absolutely correct. Australia, I will always credit to this platform being a thing. And while this platform is a thing, it'll always have that credit. And it's because of stumbling into guys just like you who have been down there just knocking it out of the park. Guys, if you've enjoyed the show today, the easiest way that you can like, share, and support is to subscribe. Hit that button. It doesn't cost you anything. In Mitch Ryder's case, he just said it. It's One Shot Ryder's been on the screen the entire show. Right there underneath him. Hit that follow button and do your thing. And if you haven't followed us here at CCP Podcasting, why the fuck not? I don't even know if we can be friends if that's the case. Mitch, it's been fantastic here. I can't wait to have you back on. And for all of those who have been here and chat with us, we appreciate you. So for Mr. One Shot, Mr. Mitch Ryder, I am Chris Page, and we will see you next time.